top tier 5 stars. Trust me when I say there was a lot of pain. You look so beautiful, I can't feel my knees. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video of Bookmas. I'm really excited about this one because we're gonna talk all about my top 10 reads of 2024, aka all of my 5-star reads, because apparently I have 10 books that I rated 5 stars this year. So I thought I would do a video where I talk all about my 5-star reads, and then I'll do a separate video talking about my other favorite books like 4.75, 4.5 reads, as well as some books I didn't enjoy. So I think those books I'm going to be talking about in a different video, but for this one I'm just going to focus on my top 10. I know we're not at the end of 2024 yet, but I feel like I won't be able to find any more 5-star reads. I just have to be honest, it's been really difficult this year to really find any good books. I don't know why. A lot of these books were also romances, which is surprising to me because I feel like last year I had a lot of fantasy. I love talking about my favorite books, so this video is such an exciting video for me. I will be ranking them from bottom to top, 10th ranking to the 1st ranking. However, I love all of these books equally. They're 5-star reads for a reason, so I just have to make a disclaimer. Regardless of how much this was ranked, I still highly recommend reading them, and I still love them to bits. Ranking them took a while, so I hope you guys enjoy watching this video, and let's just get started. At 10th place, we have My Dark Desire by Parker S. Huntington and LJ Shin. I really freaking love this book to the point where I made a TikTok, I'm pretty sure. So this is a part of, I don't know what they're called, the Dark Prince. The first book is My Dark Romeo, and this is the second one. The third one is coming out next year. When I picked this up, I didn't have great expectations because I didn't really like the first book, My Dark Romeo. That one was a 2-star read, but for this one, pleasantly surprised because I enjoyed this so much. So in this book, you're following Zachary's son and Pharaoh, our MMC and FMC. Zachary is a rich person. His family is rich. He is rich. He lives a very haughty lifestyle. He has gone through a lot in his childhood, and he has lots of trauma. As he grew up, he hated the touch of people. And Pharaoh, on the other hand, lives a very poor lifestyle. This is like Cinderella inspired, by the way. So Pharaoh lives with her stepmother and stepsisters, and they treat her very badly. Her dad left her a family heirloom, but then that got sold by her stepmom to Zachary's son's family. So Pharaoh wants to sneak into his house and steal the necklace. There was this like one party, one ball, and Pharaoh snuck into the house, was about to steal the necklace, but then Zachary found her. Zachary found Pharaoh stealing the necklace. Because of that, Zachary ends up hiring Pharaoh as his help in his house. They end up falling in love because of that. What I really liked about this book, first off, was both Pharaoh and Zachary's personal individual relationships with themselves. There was a lot of individual character growth, especially Zachary. I felt like he just grew a lot because you get to know what happened to him in the beginning of the book. I really liked Zachary because he was so obsessed with Pharaoh, but he wasn't controlling, he wasn't annoying, he was very respectful, he was very honest with his feelings for her, and I think that honesty, which is a breath of fresh air. And also with Pharaoh, I felt like she was very strong-willed. She had a lot of grit. She knew she liked Zachary, but then she also knew that there was no chance that she would ever be in a relationship with him because of the social standing. Pharaoh is in a poor family, while Zachary is in a rich family. But also they have a physical relationship. They're attracted to each other, but Pharaoh doesn't really want more. She doesn't ask for more. In the end, the way they loved each other, the way Zachary pined over Pharaoh, the way he just wanted her all along, I loved seeing that. There was like an underlying mystery plot with this when it comes to Pharaoh's family. Pharaoh's stepmom was very shady. It's not very dark, so I wouldn't really count it as a dark romance, but it still has dark aspects. Yeah, so that's My Dark Desire by LJ Shin and Parker S. Huntington. In 9th place is Not Another Love Song by Julie So. This is about a cellist and a violinist. Gwen is our FMC, Xander is our MMC. Gwen is a musical prodigy, so she has grown from bottom to the top through her skills, and right now she is working in the Manhattan Pops Orchestra, and she is set to become the first chair, I think is what it's called, in the orchestra, because the people who like control the orchestra or like owns the orchestra really likes her. But then comes in Xander, who is a nepo baby. His parents were both talented musical artists. He has talent, but he's a nepo baby. A lot of people know him because of his parents. But Xander Thorne is a part of a musical band, and the way Gwen and Xander met is that Gwen had to play in a wedding that Xander was a guest in. Gwen originally plays violin and Xander plays the cello. In the wedding, they need a cellist. Gwen ends up taking Xander's cello and playing it from scratch. She never really learned the cello, and Xander immediately was obsessed with her because of how good she plays, because Xander never really finds anyone who's better than him. Xander's also a part of the orchestra apparently, and he never realizes Gwen exists. Gwen always knew Xander was a part of the orchestra. That is how they met. That's how their relationship went. I love Julie Soto. She's one of my top authors this year, and she's going to be a top author forever, I feel, because both of her books have been 5-star reads for me. And she has only released 2 books, by the way. I love her writing. I just love how she writes her MMCs. They're so addicting. They're so good. They're so obsessed. I just love MMCs that love so much. Xander was just one of those people who absolutely adored and respected Gwen for her talents. There is a rivalry involved because actually Xander also really wants to take first chair in the Manhattan Pops Orchestra. There was a lot of tension going on because of how much they were fighting each other. I really liked seeing a lot of growth from Gwen because she struggled a lot in the beginning with her feelings and like the way she views the musical world. Overall, I did love this book. I love the writing. I love the characters. I love the storyline. I highly recommend this book. Next up, in 8th place, we have a book that is part of a series. It is Long Way Down by Krissa and Becca Ritchie. This is actually Reich and Daisy's story, but by the end of the book, there were a lot of cameos of the other characters in the whole series. So I absolutely love this book. I cried a lot reading this. I'm pretty sure I have like a reading vlog where I was sobbing reading this book. This is the 9th book in the Addicted series. The last book is actually an epilogue novel, so technically this is the last book of the characters. And in the Addicted series, you're following a character study of 6 people. The main characters are Lily and Lo, and the both of them are addicts. Lily's a sex addict and Lo is an alcoholic, and you go through their lives as they struggle through this addiction, as those addictions relate to the people around them, specifically Lily's sisters, Daisy and Rose, which they also get their own books. Rose and Connor is my favorite couple, but I think reading about Reich and Daisy's story is a lot more painful because of how much Daisy went through in this whole series. Daisy had a lot going on with her. This book, I think, made me cry because of the found family aspects. I am obsessed with the characters already, so seeing them spend their time together and be with each other and love each other through all of their flaws was beautiful. So that's why I rated this 5-star. The series is very different in a sense where you just get really attached to every single person and every character. They bring out a different dynamic to the group, and I think they are beautiful characters. That is my 8th book, and that is Long Way Down. Let's get on to my top 7th, and it is actually Summer Romance by Anna Monaghan. The reason why I say actually is because this book originally was a 4.5 read that went up to a 4.75 that ended up being 5 stars after I thought for like 2 months about this book. You're following Allie Morris, who is a single mom who recently got divorced. Her mom recently passed away. She has 2 kids, but after going through all of that, she feels lost and she has been in a rut ever since. But one day she feels like she needs to do something different. She takes off her wedding ring, she takes off her sweatpants, she dresses up, she goes out, and she ends up meeting a guy during her walk. His name is Ethan, and Ethan's dog peed on her, and she felt like she had a connection with Ethan, and they go on to have a summer romance. One thing that like really surprised me was Ethan's relationship with Allie from the get-go. There's a backstory for sure when it comes to Ethan and Allie. I love their relationship. It was very wholesome. It was very heartwarming. Ethan's relationship with Allie's kids was also really lovely to see. I sometimes don't like kids in a book, but I feel like if you do it well, the kids really bring out a lot when it comes to the adults' relationship. What I really enjoyed was that this book focused a lot on Allie's growth as she figures out how to move past this portion of her life, going through so much in her life. So I loved seeing her growth. I loved seeing her go through her comfort zone, set up boundaries, move on from her grief. Loved seeing Ethan stand by her through all of that. He gave her a lot of space. He gave her a lot of control when it came to their relationship because he knew how much she needed that. And he was so introspective with their relationship. This is a book that, like, when you're in your 30s and you read it, I think it would hit so much harder. When I thought about it again, I felt like this book gave me a lot of morals, gave me a lot of life lessons, and I really wanted to keep it in my heart, and so this ended up being a 5 stars. I love Annabelle Monaghan's writing. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, but it hits you in the heart, in the soul. Very, very beautiful. So I love summer romance. I'm gonna pick up more of her books. I'm excited to read more of her books. Top 6. Oh my gosh, we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood, an Omegaverse paranormal romance. I know what you're thinking. Why? A lot of people didn't really like this book, I think because the concept to them sounded really absurd. If you guys know, you guys know. But to me, Omegaverse books were comforting. They're nostalgic. I loved reading them when I was young. When I was 15 years old and I was reading Wattpad books, I loved Omegaverse books, especially when it comes to a vampire and a werewolf. Not werewolf to werewolf, vampire and werewolves, just because they're like sworn enemies and they're supposed to hate each other. I loved the dynamic of that, and so I love an Omegaverse book. And when I heard that Ali Hazelwood was releasing one, best believe I was obsessed. You Can't Talk to Me, I loved it. So in this book, you are following Misery, who is a vampire, and Lo, who is a werewolf. Misery never really liked getting into the vampire politics, but then Misery gets called by her dad to get into this marriage, and she has no choice because of the peace. But Misery actually has her own reasons as to why she wants to enter into this marriage. And there is a mystery aspect where Misery's best friend goes missing, and she thinks that it's related to the werewolves, and you kind of figure out why she went missing. But also you see a lot of growth when it comes to Lo and Misery's relationship. Lo had a little sister, if I'm not mistaken, and I loved her addition to their relationship. And I love the spice, and I love Ali Hazelwood's writing. I love the way she writes characters. They're so unique, they're so different, and the tropes are very tropey, but for some reason the story is so different because it's Ali Hazelwood and I love her writing. I love Ali Hazelwood's MMCs. They're always god tier to me. Don't take things too seriously, in my opinion. It's just a fun time. My top 5 is actually a very, very recent read. I read this in October. It's my 5-star read. I really love it, and it's The X-Vows by Jessica Joyce. I will never have... Oh gosh, my tab is still inside. I would never have anticipated this book to be a top 5, even a 5-star read, because Jessica Joyce's debut novel, You With a View, was not my favorite. It was a 2-star read. So when I got into this, I was not expecting to love this book. So The X-Vows is a second chance romance between Eli and Georgia, and they both were high school friends. They were very close friends with this one other guy called Adrian. So there's an A, I forgot his name. Ended up dating during college, I think. They ended up breaking it off, and 5 years later, whoever the friend is in that friend group, he is getting married, and Georgia and Eli needs to save his wedding because his wedding is in shambles. Things are going wrong, and they both end up having to work together after 5 years of basically no contact. So with this book, I absolutely enjoyed it because you get to see so much groveling and pining when it comes to Eli's side, but also I connected so deeply with Georgia as a character. She was my favorite in this book. There were a lot of parts of her that I felt so deeply that I also understood why she acted that way, the reason as to why she broke up with Eli, the reason why she didn't want to talk about her feeling FOMO, not wanting to ruin the friendship, not wanting people to not pick her in a relationship. It hit home for me. I cried reading this book, and I really liked the relationship Georgia and Eli had. The both of them did wrong in the relationship, but I really liked that they both understood where they were wrong at. The way they grew out of that was absolutely stunning. Sometimes with second chance romances, if there's no valid reason for them to break up and get back together, then it doesn't make any sense. But in this book, I thought that it was justified. So I did enjoy the writing. I love the romance. A lot of the quotes in here were beautiful. I tabbed the book because I couldn't not tab it. I just really like a lot of the writings in here, a lot of the things that Eli says to Georgia, such as, "You look so beautiful, I can't feel my knees." I saw the way he was looking at you when you came in. It was like you were the only person on the planet. Eli is just this quiet and brooding guy, but honestly, he has so much in him. He's so emotional, and he loves Georgia to bits, and I love seeing that. Highly recommended, you guys. This was so freaking good. When I'm reading this, I was frothing in the mouth from how much I was laughing and giggling and crying, so I love this book. Now we are into my top fourth, and it's actually not even a published book. It's a fanfic. I read this on my Kindle, but I did get the binded copy because I loved it so much. And if you guys do not know what it is Manacled by Senlin Yu. I do have the binded copy, but it's really thick, so I'm not going to be like lifting it because it's too heavy. It's like 1,000 pages, but just know that I do have a physical copy of this book. Manacled is a Hermione fanfic. It is about post-apocalyptic Harry Potter where Voldemort won and Harry Potter is dead. The whole storyline follows the fact that there is this breeding program that Voldemort made. I'm not sure the reason as to why the breeding program exists, but the women who survived gets matched to a person that is a part of like Voldemort's group of evil people, and Hermione is one of those people who he captured alive, and she gets matched to Draco Malfoy. That is the whole gist of it. They basically have to make babies. I think it's something to do with like they want to have full-blooded wizards or something like that, but Manacled got picked up, so it's gonna get published as Alchemized. I think it's what it's called. This is my first Hermione fanfic and my only one, because honestly I am not a big fan of Hermione. I'm not a big fan of Harry Potter, so to me this was a very random read, a very random pickup, but I was buddy reading this with my other two friends because they heard it was great, and my other friend really wanted to read this together to like share the pain, because it's a very dark and emotional read, a very triggering story. We had to read it together to like get through the pain. Trust me when I say there was a lot of pain. I absolutely enjoyed this book because there was a lot of depth with the characters, obviously, but like when you come from a fanfic, you feel like the characters were already made, so it's easy to like create them. But in this book I feel like Hermione and Draco were two different people from the Harry Potter world, and I don't even see them as Hermione and Draco Malfoy. I see them as two individual characters, and I absolutely enjoyed that. The relationship they both had was amazing. Part 2 was killer, and it was painful, but it was beautiful. It was so deep, and I felt it to the bone. And I think that it really hit me, the way their relationship was explained, the way they went through everything, the things that Draco Malfoy went through, the things that he had to control, the things that he had to resist was stunning. The amount of character development that went through with both of these characters, stunning. And I enjoyed it so much, and I'm thrilled I got to read this, and I don't know how to explain how much this book means to me. The way Senlin Yu goes through a lot of these topics, because a lot of them are really heavy, they're very violent, and they're very triggering. It gave a lot of space. It was very light. It flowed very beautifully. So I think the way she got through a lot of these topics, I do really like. Pick up the published copy as Alchemized. I'm obviously gonna read it again. So yeah, that's Manacled by Senlin Yu. My top 3. My third place is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. Yes, another Julie Soto book. This is the one I'm obsessed with. Not another love song I love, but this one I'm obsessed with. So I read this book on the Kindle. Actually, I was recommended this by a friend, and I didn't really know Julie Soto before. I was just recommended by a friend, and it was on KU when I read this. I was so obsessed that I read this in one day. I was in Singapore when I was reading this, and I couldn't put this book down. In this book, you're following a florist called Elliot and a wedding planner called Amma. The both of them were exes. Once again, a second chance romance. However, they kind of work in the wedding planning industry. They end up having to work together for a wedding. It's a very high profile wedding. It's a celebrity. She really wants Amma to plan her wedding, and she's friends with Elliot, and she really wants Elliot to do her flowers, and they end up having to work together. Amma and Elliot broke off in not so great terms, so that's why they are kind of like in a very awkward phase. The amount of tension that you get with this book was stunning. There is dual timeline, there's also dual POV, but you get the present timeline only in Amma's POV, and you get the previous timeline only in Elliot's POV. And I think that really worked out very well. You really get to see Elliot as a character before they broke up, and then you get to see him now, but then you don't really know what he's thinking about, but you know how obsessed he was before. And I think that kind of dynamic really gave a lot of tension. There was so much chemistry going on, and you can really see how much Elliot was obsessed with her. I just think that overall, Julie Soto did a very good take with the second chance romance trope, because it is quite saturated, that trope, but if you do it very well, like this book, then it will be such a good trope to read. I also really like the X-Files. Also, if you don't like dual timeline, this is great because this has no past timeline. Something else is that both of these characters, there's a lot of like hidden meanings when it comes to them as a character. Emma's name, Elliot's tattoos, those little tiny details are some of the things I really like about this book, and I love that there's so much attention to those details and they play a big role in their relationship. I will never stop recommending this book to everyone. Please pick it up. If you've read it, let me know. If you don't like it, don't talk to me, because I love this book and I highly recommend it. We're now down to our top two. Second place for this year, Play Along by Liz Tomford. This book is god tier. This book was so good. This book made me cry. I remember that it made me tear up, which is so rare for a sports romance to make me bawl. You're following Isaiah Rhodes, who is a baseball player, and Kennedy, who is a sports physician who works in the same club as Isaiah. And Isaiah has always been in love with Kennedy. Not in love, like obsessed with Kennedy, really likes her, thinks she's pretty, thinks she's really great. But Kennedy has always been engaged and has always had a guy. And then one day, Kennedy's engagement was broken off and Isaiah thinks, wow, this is finally the time for me to move forward. And so there's a lot of groveling and pining with Isaiah's side when it comes to their relationship. But then they go to Vegas. They had a drunken night out and they got married, and now they have to pretend to be in a relationship. Isaiah Rhodes was fire. He is top MMC, best book boyfriend. He is so respectful, he is so honest, he is so real towards his feelings with Kennedy. He doesn't hide anything about it. He gives lots of space and respect towards her as a female working in this very, very difficult industry. And I loved seeing the grit in her. I loved seeing how strong she was. For a sports romance, this book gave so much. It gave so much emotion. It gave so much growth. It gave so much individual depth to each character. The Windy City series has officially become one of my favorite sports romance series because of this book. Play Along hit it for me, and it was amazing. Great. I loved it. Let's move on to the last book, which is my top favorite. Number one, we have a fantasy book, because I feel like I've talked so much and they're all romances. And I feel like a fantasy book hits a 5 stars. They're usually like top tier 5 stars. And this book was top tier to me because the feelings I got reading this book and the way I'm still thinking about the characters now and the emotions, the detail to every single character in this book was beautiful. And it's Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. It's the last book in the Greenbone Saga trilogy. The first book is Jade City, the second book is Jade War, and this is the last one. Jade City, you are following two rivaling clans, the Mountain Clan and the No Peak Clan, and the both of them are fighting for Jade. Jade in this world is a huge asset. Jade is war on people's body. It can enhance people's properties, physical properties, a lot of other properties. They basically make you stronger, but then only a certain amount of people are able to use Jade, are able to wield Jade, and they are the Kekanese. However, recently a drug was introduced to this world called Shine, aka SN1, that allows other people who don't have the genes to be able to wield Jade. There's a lot of politics when it comes to that, a lot of cultural references, a lot of morals, a lot of ethics when it comes to trade, making businesses, rebellion groups, everything is in this series and everything was done so freaking well. The reason why this book for me is number one of this year is because of every single thing that happened in this book. The plot of this book is so intricate and so complex, but Fonda Lee was able to weave everything together and make them all make sense and get all of the plot holes and loose ends all tied up so perfectly. The climax of this book was done so well. You're at the edge of your seat. All you want to do is know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to occur. You don't know where things are going to go. The plot is so unpredictable. Yes, there are parts where there's very fast-paced action everywhere, but then there are also slow parts where you get to know all of the characters, where you get to see how they grow, where you get to deeply understand how they play a role in this world and why they exist to begin with. There are so many POVs, so many characters in this book, but then how was she able to make every single one of them so flawed, but so real, but so strong, and get me so emotionally invested in every single one of them that I feel for each character, everything that happens to them, everything that they go through, even the bad guys. Even the bad guys, I can understand their vices, why they do the things they do, why they become the person they become. I think Fonda Lee does a great job. Oh my goodness, I suddenly remember what happened in this book and it's giving me body shivers. Greatly crafted book, even the magic, the trading of the jade, the using of the jade, the culture behind using jade. This was plotted and crafted with so much meticulous energy that I feel like this deserves to be top. It was fantastic. I love this book. I don't know what else to say except for the fact that this book was brilliantly made. And yeah, that is it for my top books of 2024. That is it, and I am so happy to talk about these books. They're all 5-star reads. I don't have any more 5-star reads other than that. I will be making a separate video for some of my other favorites as well as some of my not so favorites. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I know a lot of people do like top 24 of 2024, but I think for me it doesn't work. So don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you guys enjoyed, and look forward to more bookmas content. I think I only have a few more coming up soon, but regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys love this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!